Welcome, I'm Martina, your trusty guide through the pages of Camp Half-Blood and beyond. Grab your camp shirts, ready your weapons, and let's embark on this epic adventure together. This is Delphi Dispatches. We did it. It's the first season of the podcast that's over. I dubbed it now the first season since I will take a break after this, and we covered the whole TV show, so yay! And as someone with ADHD, it's hard for me to keep one focus for longer, so I'm very happy that I kept focus on the podcast, and I will continue to do so because I really love it, and I love sharing my Percy Jackson obsession with everyone who's listening. But yes, just to remind you, I will take a 1 month break after this. I will come back in April with the next episode. I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to start with the movie, the musical, or just book one, but we'll see. And the first episode back will be the promised Q&A. So send in Q&A questions via Instagram, email, the Q&A poll on Spotify, or the comments on YouTube. And I thought additionally to the Q&A, I want to do some personality type quizzes for the episode, since I think just the Q&A will be quite a short episode. So like godly parent quiz, fatal flaw quiz, etc. So if you have any specific quizzes or types of quizzes you want me to do, let me know on Instagram and I will check them out and add them to the list, and I will do them live while I record the next episode. And then when I come back in April, the podcast will continue normally, but every 2 weeks instead of every week, since there's not a show coming out every week I want to cover as soon as possible. So yeah, today we'll just talk about my predictions for season 2, because I have a feeling we will get some news during this month I will not be posting. So I wanted to get my things out of the way before it gets influenced by other news we get. But first, let's start out with the Delphi Dispatches news. I have a few interesting articles that were published here. The first article I have here is from the 16th of February from Billboard.com. There they say Dua Lipa's Levitating rules Billboard's top TV song charts for February 2024 after it received a spot in Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and that makes the song rank at the top for the TV song charts. The rankings for the charts are based on song and show data and ranked using a formula blending the data with sales and streaming information during the corresponding period of, in this case, January 2024. The next article is from the 22nd of February, and it's from the Hollywood Reporter, and they released the list with the top streaming titles for January 22nd to 28th, 2024, and Percy Jackson reached number 6 in the original series category. Then on the 23rd of February, comicbook.com released information that Bear McCreary will return as composer for season 2, as will Echolane Productions, who are responsible for the sound mixing in season 1 and now also in season 2. This episode is recorded as close to release I've ever done, so it's 10 on a Sunday, and it should go live 10 on a Monday. So I also have news from yesterday, from the 24th of February, from TV Insider. They released their list of top 25 Disney Plus original shows, and ahead of all Marvel and Star Wars series, Percy Jackson reached number 1 on that list. And I would say it's a tough competition, but it's earned for Percy. Then another news I got, I don't really know on what day it got out, because it was not a article, it was a comment on Goodreads. So someone asked Rick the question. I'm just gonna read the conversation. So the question was, I just want to know if Kane Chronicles and Magnus Chase will get TV adaptations too. And Rick answered, right now, Kane Chronicles is on turnaround, which means Netflix has decided not to move forward, and their option has lapsed after trying for 2 years to develop a script they liked. Now it depends on whether another studio would like to step in, assume the production costs, and move forward. This is not at all unusual. It happens, I would guess, with the majority of film projects. Also, the streaming industry as a whole is shrinking their development slate right now, meaning they are canceling more content and making less content. Kane got caught in that trend despite the strong success of Percy TV. Magnus Chase we are holding in reserve for now. I don't want to do that until I have enough bandwidth to do it properly, and as you may have guessed, I'm pretty busy. So, this means one thing for us Percy Jackson stans. We need to do everything to get the Riordan verse of madness, as I think the Seaweed Brain podcast dubbed it. So, we need Kane to get picked up by Disney, so they can somehow make a crossover down the line. And after that, they need to make Magnus as well, so we get a huge crossover. Now, on to the Percy Jackson social media highlights. We have more of those fan edits, but now we have like the trio and also Clarice and Luke. Then there is a video of Rick and Walker talking about the new era of Percy Jackson. They talked about how Walker got inspired to be an actor, that his favorite Disney character is Iron Man, and Robert Downey Jr. is his favorite actor, and he thought that the Avengers were real until he found out they were actors, and then he was like, yep, I want to become an actor as well. There were also some behind the scenes clips from stunt work from the Ares fight, and also Walker's dad, who is still very hyped. Then in another video we saw like the family tree of the Greek gods, at least the ones we've met so far, and in the background it's like a literal tree and it gives like Thalia's tree vibes. Then we got another video of moments from the set with the trio. We saw Arian covered in Cerberus drool, more of the Ares fight choreography, and then there was also like this acting circle before the beach/Ares scene. The trio has entered their trend era, I think, because we have two videos that are like, I think they started out as YouTube videos and now they're a lot of TikToks. So the first one is This or That with the trio, and I just wrote down what everyone said because it's easy. So the first question was Riptide or Masterbolt. The boys both chose Riptide and Leah chose the Masterbolt. Then Invisibility or Flight. Leah chose Invisibility, of course, her hat, and the boys chose Flight because of the shoes, ? Then we have Oceans or Mountains. Walker chose Ocean, the other two Mountains. Then New York City or Los Angeles, and everyone chose New York City. Then the next question was Cerberus or the Chimera. Everyone chose the best dog ever, Cerberus. And then we have introvert or extrovert. So Leah says she's an introvert or she likes introverts more. I don't know like what the setup for this question was. And the boys are extroverted. Then we have satyrs or centaurs. Arian was the only one who chose satyr. Maybe the other ones were just messing with him. And the last one was middle school or camp half-blood. And of course everyone chose camp. Then the next one was What's Inside the Box with the trio. And it was really fun. And we see again the boys are just trying to mess with Leah the whole time. And then the last video I want to talk about is a prophecy breakdown narrated by Walker. And we see like he's talking about the prophecy and we see corresponding images. So, you shall go west and face the god who has turned. We see a picture of Ares. You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. We see Percy returning the Master Bolt to Zeus. You shall be betrayed by one who calls you friend. We see Luke about to betray Percy. And you shall fail to save what matters most in the end. We see a picture of Sally as a statue in the underworld. So, is that confirmation that in this case the prophecy ended with this episode because his mom wasn't saved by him, but released by Hades? And what I said last week, that the prophecy still could continue or mean other things, is not valid anymore? Or are they just messing with us? We'll see in future seasons. Then we also had a few pictures posted by Rick on his Instagram. There were more pictures of set, and I just love how much detail are in all these set pictures. And every time he writes something like interesting under the picture, like in the caption. So you should definitely go check them out because it's really cool having this insight into whatever the meanings are behind these little details. Then, let's continue with the awards. Percy Jackson got nominated for another award. And this is the WGA award in the category TV. and children's episodic, long form, and specials. The awards will be held on the 17th of April, and the specific episode that is nominated is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I accidentally vaporized my algebra teacher, and Rick and John Steinberg are nominated for it. Then, the Rotten Tomatoes score is at a 92 average on the tomato meter, and the average audience score is at 80. So, still super good. Now let's kick off the Demigod discussions with the season 2 predictions. But here is the spoiler warning, spoilers for the whole Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, especially book 2, The Sea of Monsters, and also some things from the following series, Heroes of Olympus. The Heroes of Olympus things are not that big, I think. So the big things are just for book 2 and the rest of the original 5 books. Now that you have been warned, let's start out with the episode titles. I've listed out all the chapter titles, so there are 20 chapters in The Sea of Monsters, and I've based the following things under my presumption that we again get 8 episodes, and yeah, I kind of grouped them together with themes, and out of those ones, I picked my favorite, what could be the episode title, before I start. These are all just my opinions, and if you don't agree, you don't have to. Episode 1 will encompass the first 4 chapters, I think. The chapter titles here are My Best Friend Shops for a Wedding Dress, I Play Dodgeball with Cannibals, We Hail the Taxi of Eternal Torment, and Tyson Plays with Fire. Especially here, it could be any of those chapter titles, but based on last season, I think it's gonna be the first one. My Best Friend Shops for a Wedding Dress. And, I mean, it's great. Episode 2 will encompass 2 or 3 chapters, because I'm not sure where to make the cutoff. So the first one is I Get a New Cabin Mate, then Demon Pigeons Attack, and the third one, where I'm not sure if it should be in this episode or the next, is I Accept Gifts from a Stranger. The more I think about it, it's, I think, better if it's in episode 2, so that this episode ends when they leave camp. Okay, and here, I think the episode title is I Get a New Cabin Mate, because it's like foreshadowing, but not that much. Then episode 3, now only has 2 chapters left. They are We Board the Princess Andromeda, and I Have the Worst Family Reunion Ever. So I think here it would be the We Board the Princess Andromeda. Then episode 4 is We Hitch a Ride with Dead Confederates, and Clarice Blows Everything Up. For multiple reasons, I don't think it's the first one, and I also think the second one sounds nicer, so I think the episode title will be Clarice Blows Everything Up. Then the next 2 are just 1 chapter, so I think they will expand on that. Episode 5 is We Check into Cece's Spa and Resort, and episode 6 is Annabeth Tries to Swim Home. And the last 2 have more chapters again. Episode 7 is We Meet the Sheep of Doom, and Nobody Gets the Fleece, and I go down with the ship. I think Nobody Gets the Fleece is the best option here. And then we have the last episode with the last 4 remaining chapters. We get a surprise on Miami Beach, the party ponies invade, the chariot race ends with a bang, and the fleece works its magic too well. So I think here it could be either the party ponies invade or the fleece works its magic too well. I personally think the last one is more, more fitting, since in season 1 we also had the last chapter title as the last episode title, and I think also the Fleece Works Its Magic Too Well is a good chapter title. Now, for fan casting, I'm not that familiar with current, young actors, so I did a bit of Googling who's, somewhat known now and good, and I just based it off of vibes, and some of them all of them I looked at their IMDb, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that movie, I've seen that series, so they were good in that, so yeah. So let's start out with the most important people, Tyson. So for Tyson, it was really hard to find someone that would fit my inner vision of Tyson, but I ended up going with Winslow Fegley. I hope, with all these names, I hope I say them correctly. I apologize if I'm not. And I know him from Night Books, which is this family fantasy horror movie with Kristen Ritter, who played Jessica Jones. And it was really interesting. It was not the best movie, but I think the acting of the kids was great. Then for Thalia, this is not much my opinion, as it is the opinion of the trio. They in some interviews said they wanted either Ariana Greenblatt, who is Sasha in the Barbie movie, or Momona Tamada, who is known from the Babysitters Club and the live-action Avatar, The Last Airbender, that just came out where she played Ty Lee. And I personally think Momona Tamada is more punk, or she looks that she could be more punk, which would fit, of course, Talia. Then next we have some adults. The first one is Tantalus. I would love for Tantalus to be played by Willem Dafoe. I mean, you probably know Willem Dafoe. Like, I think his most famous role, at least the one he's most famous in my opinion, is the Green Goblin in the Spider-Man movies. But I mean, he's played so many other things, and I think he has like the great vibe to play Tantalus. Next, we have Cersei. I want Cersei to be played by Zendaya, if we can't get Zendaya as Athena. Because maybe I think Zendaya as Athena would be too costly for them. So I would be happy enough if Zendaya is Cersei. And I mean, if you don't know Zendaya, I don't know, her most recent movie is, I think, Dune 2. I know there's some tennis movie coming out soon, but still, Dune 2 is, I think, the most recent and well-known one she's in. Then next is Polyphemus. I was like, okay, Polyphemus, a giant cyclops. I was searching for like big actors, and then I landed on someone I would love to. Dave Bautista. He's a former wrestler, so he's buff. And he plays Drax in the MCU, and I think that tracks. So he's like familiar with special effects, makeup, and all that, whatever they have to do to make him look like a Cyclops. Then next we have some campers. So Beckendorf, Charles Beckendorf. I'm not sure. Like with all these campers that are coming up, I'm not sure if they will be in this season. I hope so, because some of them will play a big part later. Charles Beckendorf is the first one. I like for all of the campers I don't know like a lot about the actors I picked, but I just go off of vibes. Now, let's start with Charles Beckendorf, aka just Beckendorf, or Charlie, as his girlfriend calls him. For him, I picked J.D. McCrary. As always, sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. And he is most known, I think, for the voice of young Simba in the Lion King remake. The next one, Beckendorf's girlfriend, Selena Beauregard. Here I picked out two because I am not that familiar with some. The first one is Ella J. Bosco. She plays Cassandra Cain in Birds of Prey. And the next one I actually know more about, and I think she's friends with Orion. It's McKenna Grace, and she's been in a lot of movies, and my favorite movie with her is actually Gifted with Chris Evans. I think that movie came out in like 2017 or something. It's a really good movie. And then we have the Stoll brothers, Connor and Travis. I know that they are not twins according to the books, but they look like them, so I picked out a twin pair to play them. And it's Cameron and Nicholas Crovetti. I think it's Crovetti. Yeah. And they played the Wright twins in Big Little Lies. Then we have three not so prominent characters, I would say, but still ones I cast. The first one is Hila, so Hila Ramirez Arellano, and I want Isabella Mercedes to play her. She's done many movies, and currently she's Anya Corazon in Madame Web. Then the next one is Matt Sloan, so the bully, and I think Ian Armitage, I think that's how you say his name, aka Young Sheldon. So I really want to see this guy be the bully, so that's why I picked him. And the last one is the voice of Blackjack. I wanted either to be Jack Black, just because of the name, or Ryan Reynolds, just because of lore. And, oh yeah, there was one character I was not sure who to cast, and it was Blackbeard. So if you have any preferences of who is going to play Blackbeard, let me know. And there are some other characters where I wasn't sure if there would be a specific actor associated with them or if it's just CGI, like the Nereid in Season 1 or the Oracle. And these are like Scylla and Charybdis, the Scythian Dracana, the Sirens, the Lastrygonian Giants, Agrias and Aureus, and the Grey Sisters. For the Grey Sisters, I would love the ladies from Hadestown to play them, just because it's fun. And I know in Hadestown it's actually the Fates, but we already have the Fates. The last part of my predictions and theories is, like everything together, I did not have like time to pick them apart. So I dubbed this next part theories, what I want, what I'm looking forward to. And I kind of put it in chronological order according to the book, but let's see. First one, Grover will get a great wedding dress, preferably an Indian one, and we get a behind the scenes of, like, say yes to the dress type, because that's also what the kids want. Speaking of Grover, we get more Pan lore. Then we have Percy learning more about his powers, like talking with horses, talking with sea creatures, the sea navigation thing, I don't know how to dub it, ship magic, and the underwater bubble. If you know, you know. And also, speaking of Percy's powers, I really would like to see more visualization of, first of all, Percy's powers as in like the sea navigation. And second off, I also want more visualization or more incorporation of Percy's dyslexia, or general the Demigod Dyslexia, because I think apart from the first episode where Percy is looking at the worksheet, there's not really the visualization of dyslexia anymore. Then the next thing I'm really looking forward to is the Siren's visions, which are gonna hit so hard, I already can tell. I also look forward to the nobody part, aka Annabeth being smarter than Odysseus. And also another Annabeth thing is her hinting at the Great Prophecy, but not talking about it. If I remember correctly, she knows about the Great Prophecy already. Next, Clarice. I want more Clarice. Even her becoming like friends, in quotation marks, with Percy and or Annabeth. I would love if Clarice and Annabeth became more friends, and Percy and Clarice are more like, I'm not gonna kill you at first sight. Maybe on second, but not at first. I also would like to have a like new kind of narrative on Cersei, like they did with Medusa, so making her more sympathetic, because I love Cersei. I also want more Luke, Talia, and Annabeth backstory. Maybe also mixed in with Grover, because it's the Cyclops theme that is gonna come out a lot in Annabeth this season. And I also want them to plant seeds of exploring Annabeth's relationship with her dad, especially for season 3, because that's a really big point there. Speaking of exploring relationships, I also want to explore the different relationships which Percy has with Tyson and Annabeth has with Tyson. On a show aspect, I want them to be like cutting back and forth between Percy, Clarice, and Grover, and maybe also Luke to see what he's doing under Princess Andromeda. And then I want them to show us more gods, especially goddesses. I want, I don't know, Hestia, Athena, Demeter, anyone. Maybe even some minor gods to bring up, because that's the main point of the last book, to like include the minor gods more. So I would really love that. Maybe it's some type of minor sea god. Oh, you know what would be interesting? If we somehow met Amphitrite, or Amphitrite, I don't know how to say your name, the wife of Poseidon. That would be very interesting. And the last thing is, I think, the most important part, and I also think they already said that it's gonna happen, or at least that it's not gonna happen. So, no dead Confederates. Yes. So, I think it was one of the showrunners who said, yeah, no, there will definitely be no dead Confederates. Thank you. And maybe it's just some random people that died at sea, or they're gonna do like something else, I don't know. Because I like the aspect of people who died on the losing side of a war have to like repay Ares. So I don't know, maybe it's just like some minor family feud war kind of thing. I just hope they're not gonna, I don't know, ruin it. Okay, now, I already said it's gonna be a shorter one, since I don't have a lot of time and I don't have a lot to say yet. So we're already at the trivia trials for this week. Let's check the answers from last week. The first question was, I talked about the panel of the TCA Winter Press Tour. What does TCA stand for? It stands for Television and Critics Association. And the next question was a math question. I'm really interested if someone calculated it. Because, like, if you listen closely to last week's episode, you know how many times I've watched a series and how many minutes, like, when the season is. So how many minutes in total did I spend watching Percy Jackson and the Olympians, excluding the reactions I watched? So just pure episode watching, I spent 1,902 minutes, aka 1 day, 7 hours and 42 minutes. Is that dedication or obsession? I will let you decide. But that's not the question for today. The questions for today are as followed. We got the news about the Kane Chronicles from a post on Goodreads. Which company owns Goodreads? And the second question is, the Sea of Monsters has a lot of parallels with the stories from the Odyssey. There is currently a musical being made about the Odyssey, and the creator shares many things and behind the scenes about the creation online. What is the name of the musical? As a hint, I'm obsessed, so this hint will probably only help my personal friends because they know I'm obsessed. Regardless, speaking of music, let's go to mythical music. And I was thinking, it's like season 1 of Delphi Dispatches is over. We started talking about season 2, and something Percy and I have in common is that life is hard. I think more people share that in common. So I decided to put in the song I'm Just a Kid by Simple Plan because it basically sums up Percy's whole experience in these books, and I think it's a great stopping point for this season. And that concludes another adventure with Delphi Dispatches. Thank you, demigods, for joining me on today's quest. Please consider subscribing to the podcast. And if you want to connect with me on Instagram, just follow at Delphi_Dispatches_pod for updates and a fun community. See you all in April. This is Martina, signing off until next time. And remember, the real world is where the monsters are.